Your friends are keeping you poor and they do not even know it. Every evening, when you spend 3 hours talking about nothing, complaining about everything, and consuming meaningless entertainment, together you are all agreeing to stay exactly where you are. Your social circle has created an invisible prison of shared mediocrity where anyone who tries to improve themselves is labeled as thinking they are better than everyone else. When you try to read, instead of watch television, they call you boring. When you invest in education, instead of entertainment, they call you obsessed. When you talk about business, ideas instead of gossip, they change the subject. They love you, but they love the version of you that makes them feel comfortable about their own lack of growth. The most dangerous phrase in the English language is, let's just relax and have fun, when spoken by people who have been relaxing their potential away for years. You cannot soar with eagles if you are surrounded by turkeys who clip your wings every time you try to fly. Your income will be the average of the five people you spend the most time with. And if those 5 people are not growing, neither are you right now at this very moment. There are people who have the same 24 hours you have, the same access to information you have, the same opportunities you have. Yet they are creating wealth, building businesses, solving problems, and living extraordinary lives, while others remain exactly where they were 5 years ago. What makes the difference? It is not talent. It is not luck. It is not connections. It is one simple habit that separates the successful from the struggling. They educate themselves every single day. You see, there was a man named Robert who inherited $12 million from his father. He had everything: money, properties, multiple businesses across 3 states. His father had built an empire through decades of hard work and smart decisions. But there was one thing Robert never learned to do: read financial statements. He never understood cash flow. He never learned about investments, taxes, or business management. He trusted everyone else to handle his money while he enjoyed the lifestyle his inheritance provided. Robert lived like a king for the first few years. Expensive cars, luxury vacations, a mansion with a swimming pool and tennis court. He thought the money would last forever, but slowly, quietly, his fortune began to disappear. Bad investments recommended by people he trusted. Business deals that looked good on the surface, but were disasters underneath. Tax problems he didn't see coming. Within 15 years, every single dollar was gone. He died at 53, broke and alone. Not because he was poor, but because he was uneducated about money. His poverty was not in his pocket, it was in his head. This is the tragedy of our time. We live in the information age. We have more access to knowledge than any generation in human history. You can learn anything you want to learn. You can study under the greatest minds who ever lived through their books. You can take courses from the world's leading experts through the internet. You can have mentors you've never met teach you through videos, podcasts, and online programs. Yet, we are raising a generation of people who are information rich, but wisdom poor. They know the latest celebrity gossip. They can tell you every detail about their favorite sports team statistics from 10 years ago. They can spend 6 hours scrolling through social media, watching videos of people dancing, eating, or complaining about their problems. But they cannot tell you one thing they learned yesterday that will improve their financial situation, their relationships, their health, or their future. Walk into any coffee shop and listen to the conversations. People are talking about what happened on television last night. They are discussing other people's problems. They are complaining about their boss, their job, their government, their circumstances. But how many are talking about what they are learning? How many are discussing the book they are reading or the course they are taking? How many are planning their education the way they plan their entertainment? The graveyard is the richest place on earth. It is filled with people who had great ideas but never developed them because they never took the time to learn how. They had dreams of starting businesses but never learned about business. They had ideas for inventions but never studied engineering or product development. They wanted to write books but never learned about writing or publishing. They had potential but never converted it into power through education. Think about the person you were 5 years ago. What did you know then compared to what you know now? If you are honest, you will probably admit that you know a little more, but not much more. Most people's level of knowledge and skill stays almost the same year after year. They graduate from school and think their education is complete. They get a job and stop learning new things. They settle into a routine and their growth stops. But your brain is the most amazing creation in the universe. Scientists tell us that your brain has the capacity to store more information than all the computers in the world combined. Your mind mind can learn languages, solve complex problems, create art, build businesses, and change the world. But most people treat their mind like a garbage dump. They fill it with junk food for the brain, meaningless entertainment, negative news, other people's drama, and useless information that will never improve their life. Every morning when you wake up, you have a choice. You can choose to be the same person you were yesterday with the same knowledge, the same skills, the same limitations, or you can choose to become better. But better doesn't happen by accident. Better doesn't happen by wishing or hoping. Better happens by education. Better happens by intentionally, deliberately feeding your mind with knowledge that will transform your life. Most people are waiting for someone else to change their life. They are waiting for their boss to give them a promotion. They are waiting for the government to fix their problems. They are waiting for their circumstances to improve. But successful people understand that they are responsible for their own development. They don't wait for opportunity. They create opportunity through education. The knowledge you need to transform your life already exists. Someone has already solved the problems you are facing. Someone has already achieved the goals you want to achieve. Someone has already built the business you want to build, created the relationships you want to have, and develop the skills you need to develop. The question is not whether the information exists. The question is whether you will invest the time to learn it. Your future is not determined by your past. Your future is not determined by your current circumstances. Your future is not determined by the family you were born into or the school you attended. Your future is determined by what you choose to learn from this day forward. Education is the great equalizer. It can take you from poverty to prosperity, from failure to success, from ordinary to extraordinary. But education requires discipline. It requires you to turn off the television and pick up a book. It requires you to listen to educational podcasts instead of meaningless music. During your commute, it requires you to invest in courses and seminars instead of spending money on entertainment. It requires you to have conversations about ideas instead of talking about people and circumstances. The question is not whether you can afford to educate yourself. The question is whether you can afford not to educate yourself. Ignorance is expensive. Ignorance costs you opportunities. Ignorance costs you money. Ignorance costs you relationships. Ignorance costs you your future. The price of learning is always less than the cost of ignorance. Let me tell you about Maria. She was one of the smartest people I ever met. Quick with numbers, sharp with solutions, and had the kind of natural leadership that made people want to follow her. When she spoke, people listened. When she had an idea, it was usually brilliant. But for 18 years, Maria worked minimum wage jobs. Cashier at a grocery store, receptionist at a small office, cleaning lady at night to make extra money. Every morning she woke up tired. Every evening she came home frustrated, complaining about how unfair life was, how she deserved better, how other people had all the luck. Maria had dreams. She talked about starting her own cleaning business, expanding it into a full-service company. She talked about real estate, about buying rental properties. She talked about writing a book about her life experiences. But talking was all she ever did. Year after year, her life stayed exactly the way. Same small apartment, same struggling to pay bills, same feeling trapped in a cycle she couldn't break. One evening, her neighbor Marcus asked her a simple question that changed everything. He said, "Maria, you spend 3 hours every night watching television shows about other people's lives. You know every character, every storyline, every dramatic moment. But tell me one thing. What did you learn today that will make your life better tomorrow?" Maria started to answer, then stopped. She realized she couldn't think of anything. "Not one thing," Marcus continued. "You have been working for 18 years, but you have the same skills today that you had on your first day. You know everything about television shows that will be forgotten next year, but you know nothing about business, investments, marketing, or leadership. You are complaining about your situation, but you have never spent 1 hour learning how to change it." That conversation hit Maria like a slap in the face. She went home that night and looked around her apartment. Books about celebrities, magazines about fashion and gossip, DVDs of movies and TV shows. Not one single book about business, not one course about personal development, not one piece of educational material that could help her build the life she said she wanted. The next day, Maria made a decision that transformed her entire existence. She walked into the library and checked out 3 books. One about starting a business, one about personal finance, and one about marketing. She was shocked at how difficult it was to read them. Her brain, trained for years on entertainment and easy information, struggled with concepts and ideas that required focus and thinking. But Maria persisted. Every evening, instead of watching 3 hours of television, she read for 1 hour and watched TV for 2 hours. Within a month, something incredible began happening. She started seeing her work differently. She noticed inefficiencies in how the grocery store was run. She saw opportunities that her managers were missing. She began understanding why some businesses succeeded while others failed. After 6 months of daily learning, Maria approached her supervisor with a proposal. She had learned learned about inventory management and suggested a system that could save the store thousands of dollars every month. Her supervisor was amazed. Within a year, Maria was promoted to assistant manager. But more importantly, she had started her own small business on weekends. Using everything she was learning about marketing and customer service within 3 years, Maria's weekend cleaning business was making more money than her full-time job. She had learned about pricing, about hiring employees, about building systems. The same Maria who had been stuck in minimum wage jobs for 18 years became a successful business owner, not because she suddenly became smarter, but because she finally decided to educate herself. This is the mathematics of personal growth. Every day you choose to learn something new. You are not just adding knowledge, you are multiplying your possibilities. Every day you choose entertainment over education. You are not just staying the same, you are falling behind because the world is moving forward and you are standing still. Think about compound interest. If you save $1 every day for 30 years at 5% interest, you will have over $22,000. But if you wait 10 years before you start saving, you will only have about $11,000. Time matters. Starting matters. The same principle applies to learning. If you learn something new every day for 1 year, you will know 365 more things than you know today. But if you wait 5 years before you start learning, you will be 5 years behind where you could have been. The cost of waiting is not just what you miss. It is what you could have built during that time. Most people underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 years, but they overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year. Daily education is about playing the long game. It is about understanding that small, consistent actions create massive results over time. 1 hour of learning every day seems small, but over 5 years, that is over 1,800 hours of education. That is equivalent to a college degree. That is enough to master any skill, build any business, or transform any life. There is a man named James who worked in the same automotive factory for 12 years. Every morning at 6:30, punched his time card. Every evening at 3:30, he punched out. Same routine, same paycheck, same conversations with the same people about the same problems. James was good at his job. He could assemble car parts faster than almost anyone on the line, but he was dying inside. James had dreams that kept him awake at night. He wanted to start his own automotive repair business. He knew cars better than most mechanics, but knowing how to fix cars and knowing how to run a business are two completely different things. For years, he talked about his dream during lunch breaks, but talking was all he ever did. One day, James realized something that changed his entire life. He was spending his lunch break complaining about management with his coworkers, and he suddenly asked himself a question. What if I spent this time learning instead of complaining? That afternoon, instead of joining the usual complaint session, James walked to his car and listened to a business podcast on his phone. The podcast was about a man who started a small repair shop and built it into a chain of 20 locations. James was fascinated. He learned about business licenses, insurance, customer service, pricing strategies, things he had never even thought about. When he went back to work, he felt different. He felt like he had just invested 30 minutes in his future. Instead of wasting 30 minutes on negativity that evening, instead of watching his usual television programs, James went online and found free courses about small business management. He discovered that everything he needed to learn was available, most of it for free. Business planning, marketing, accounting, customer relations, employee management, it was all there waiting for him to learn it. But here is what James discovered about himself and about most people. We have been programmed to be consumers, not creators. We consume entertainment. We consume news. We consume other people's opinions and drama. We spend our time and mental energy on things that belong to other people instead of building things that belong to us. James realized he was consuming other people's dreams every night on television while his own dreams gathered dust. He was investing his time in fictional characters while his real life stayed exactly the same. He was learning the storylines of shows that would be canceled next year while remaining ignorant about principles that could change his life forever. So James made a radical decision. He became a creator instead of a consumer. Instead of watching other people succeed on television, he started learning how to succeed in real life. Instead of following sports teams, he started following business mentors. Instead of memorizing song lyrics, he started memorizing business principles. Every morning during his 15-minute drive to work, James listened to educational audiobooks. Every lunch break, he watched business training videos. Every evening, he spent 1 hour learning something new about entrepreneurship, while his co-workers spent their evenings consuming entertainment. Within 6 months, something remarkable happened. James started seeing opportunities everywhere. He noticed that his factory had maintenance problems that cost thousands of dollars because they were using the wrong repair companies. He realized that most of his neighbors were driving to expensive dealerships for simple repairs that could be done for half the price. James began offering automotive advice to his co-workers and neighbors. numbers. Word spread quickly about his expertise and honest recommendations. People started asking him to look at their cars on weekends. Within a year, James was making more money from weekend repairs than from his full-time factory job. But the real transformation happened in James' mind. He stopped thinking like an employee and started thinking like an entrepreneur. He stopped consuming other people's content and started creating his own future. He stopped being a victim of his circumstances and became the architect of his destiny. This is the power of shifting from consumer to creator. When you stop consuming entertainment and start consuming education, you stop being entertained by other people's success and start creating your own. 3 years later, James owned 2 automotive repair shops and employed 8 people. But the most important thing James discovered was not about business. It was about the human mind. He realized that most people are living the same year over and over again and calling it a life. They wake up with the same thoughts, have the same conversations, consume the same type of information, and go to bed with the same problems they had the year before. James understood something profound. Your income will never exceed your personal development. You cannot outperform your self-image. You cannot have more than you think you deserve. And you cannot build a life bigger than the size of your thinking. The only way to change your external world is to first change your internal world through education. When James looked back at his factory days, he realized he had been trapped not by his circumstances, but by his limited thinking. He thought like a factory worker, so he lived like a factory worker. He thought small thoughts, so he lived a small life. But when he began feeding his mind with business education, his thinking expanded and his life expanded with it. The tragic truth is that most people are equipped with a Ferrari mind, but they are driving it like a bicycle. Your brain has the capacity to solve complex problems, create innovative solutions, and build extraordinary things. But most people use this incredible machine for nothing more than entertainment consumption and worry production. Consider Sarah, a single mother who worked as a waitress for 8 years. She was quick on her feet, great with people, and could handle pressure better than most executives. But Sarah believed her life was determined by her circumstances. She had no college degree, no wealthy family, no connections in high places. She thought opportunity was something that happened to other people. Every evening after work, Sarah would collapse on her couch and lose herself in reality television shows. She knew every contestant on every show, every drama, every elimination. She could discuss these programs for hours with her friends. But Sarah knew nothing about the restaurant industry from a business perspective. She had worked in restaurants for 8 years, but never learned about profit margins, cost control, marketing, or franchise opportunities. One evening, Sarah's 8-year-old daughter asked her a question that pierced through her comfortable ignorance. "Mommy, why don't you have your own restaurant if you know so much about food and taking care of people?" Sarah started to give her usual excuses about money, education, and opportunity, but she stopped mid-sentence. She realized her daughter was seeing possibilities that she had trained herself not to see. That night, Sarah made a decision that seemed small, but changed everything. Instead of watching her usual 2 hours of television, she would watch 1 hour and spend 1 hour learning about the restaurant business. She started with free YouTube videos about restaurant management. She was amazed to discover that successful restaurant owners share their secrets openly, their strategies, their mistakes, their systems. Within weeks, Sarah began seeing her workplace through entrepreneurial eyes. She noticed that her restaurant wasted food, lost customers through poor service systems, and missed opportunities to increase sales. She started taking notes, not as a complaining employee, but as a future business owner who was getting free education in what not to do. Sarah discovered something that most people never learn. Every job is actually a paid education, if you choose to see it that way. Instead of just serving tables, Sarah was now studying customer psychology. Instead of just taking orders, she was learning about inventory management. Instead of just collecting tips, she was understanding cash flow. After 1 year of daily learning, Sarah approached her manager with 3 specific suggestions that could increase restaurant profits. Her manager was so impressed that he offered her a promotion to assistant manager. But more importantly, Sarah had started seeing herself differently. She was no longer a victim of her circumstances. She was a student of success. The breakthrough came when Sarah realized that she didn't need anyone's permission to start learning, growing, or improving. She didn't need a college degree to study business principles. She didn't need wealthy parents to access the knowledge of successful entrepreneurs. She didn't need connections to learn from the greatest minds in history through their books and courses. Education had become Sarah's equalizer. While other people complained about unfair advantages that wealthy people had, Sarah was busy acquiring the most important advantage of all: knowledge. While others made excuses about their limitations, Sarah was busy eliminating her limitations through learning. This is the secret that separates those who build wealth from those who struggle financially. Wealthy people understand that money follows value, and value comes from knowledge applied. Poor people focus on money itself, but wealthy people focus on developing their ability to create value through continuous education. Every industry, every profession, every skill can be learned by anyone willing to invest the time. The information exists, the teachers exist, the courses exist. The only question is whether you will make the commitment to daily education or continue choosing daily entertainment. Think about your smartphone. You carry in your pocket more educational power than entire universities had 50 years ago. You can access courses from Harvard, Stanford, and MIT. You can learn from billionaire entrepreneurs, world-class scientists, and master craftsmen. You can study languages, develop skills, and solve problems that could change your life forever. But most people use this incredible educational tool primarily for social media, games, and mindless scrolling. They have access to the greatest library in human history, but they use it as an entertainment device. This is like having a race car and using it only to sit in the driveway. The difference between people who transform their lives and people who stay stuck is not intelligence, talent, or luck. The difference is daily habits. Successful people have developed a habit of daily learning, while unsuccessful people have developed the habit of daily consumption. Your habits are creating your future. If you have the habit of consuming entertainment every evening, you are creating a future of mediocrity. If you have the habit of consuming education every evening, you are creating a future of opportunity. Small daily choices compound into major life results. The knowledge you gain today might not pay you today, but it will pay you for the rest of your life. Every book you read, every course you take, every skill you develop becomes part of your permanent, intelligible capital. No one can take it away from you. No economic downturn can destroy it. No one can steal it or tax it. But there is urgency to this message. Every day you delay your education, you are not just postponing your growth, you are compounding your problems. Problems that could be solved with knowledge continue to grow when you choose ignorance. Opportunities that could be seized with education pass by when you choose entertainment. When you taste enter, your life is not going to change when your circumstances change. Your life will change when you change, and you change through education. The person you become through daily learning will attract opportunities that the person you are today cannot even see. The choice is before you every single day. Will you invest in your mind or waste it? Will you be a consumer or a creator? Will you choose temporary entertainment or permanent transformation? Your future is not determined by what happens to you. It is determined by what you choose to learn. Start today. Start with 1 hour. Start with one book. Start with one course, but start. Your future self is counting on the decisions you make today.